Councilmember Hall.
So I have a few more things to address because we have two agenda items, number 15 and 16. But first, I'd like to address one of my favorite topics and address process, because it can be so easily misunderstood. It's important to remind everybody present here tonight or watching from home that the only reason this application is being considered by the City Council is really simple and straightforward. This project cannot be constructed under our current land use plan or our current zoning ordinances. The assumption that you have to make in this case is that the property owner was aware when purchasing this property that the current zoning and land use did not allow for the proposed project. His only option then was to submit an application to request changes that ultimately have to be approved by the City Council. This applicant has chosen this path and is requesting changes to both land use and zoning. When this occurs, legal notification is sent to property owners within a 350-foot radius, along with an invitation to attend a pre-development meeting. This is an opportunity for interested neighbors to meet with the applicant, or in this case, the applicant's attorney. These meetings are currently limited to 30 minutes, and this time limit is strictly observed whether or not the project was able to be fully discussed. I've talked about this before because in most cases, this is an adequate amount of time. But in a smaller minority of cases, at the pre-development meeting, it's pretty easy to determine that much more discussion is needed, and I believe we can have an alternate path to allow for that extra time and to be able to do mediating upfront instead of being confrontational at the end. So the next step is the Planning Commission, where the applicant is allowed all the time needed to make a presentation, while public comments are limited to 3 minutes by each resident with the warning that they will be cut off after their time is expired, just like tonight. The Planning Commission is an advisory body to the City Council. The Council respects highly the work of the Planning Commission, but it is not bound by their recommendation. Another issue that we are having currently is that the council is no longer provided a transcript of Planning Commission meetings. So unless council members make the time to attend or watch the meeting, we no longer have an understanding of the deliberations of the Planning Commission, and I find this to be very unfortunate. So in regards to this application, if I only have access to the written October 14th, 2020 minutes, which are attached to our agenda packet and are available to you as the public to review, I know that there was a staff presentation, that the attorney for the applicant made a presentation, but we have no access to the slides that were presented unless we attend or watch the meeting. I know that 12 members of the audience spoke in opposition of the application, but I have no idea what their objections were. I know that no audience member spoke in support. I know that 4 of 6 planning commissioners asked a question and that 1 commissioner made a comment, but I have no idea how they arrived at their decision to vote for or against the project because there is no longer any written record of their questions or comments. The final step is a presentation before City Council to request amending, in this case, both the Norman 2025 Land Use and Transportation Plan and Section 460 of Chapter 22 of the Code of the City of Norman. This is a legislative function of the City Council, and the final decision rests with this body. And as I mentioned before, at the forefront of all decisions we make is the public health, safety, and welfare of our community. Agenda item number 15 addresses land use changes. The Norman 2025 Land Use Plan never anticipated the northeast corner of Lindsey and Berry to be developed as part of the commercial corridor that's clearly planned for the mile along Lindsey between I-35 and Berry Road. In fact, this parcel at the intersection of Lindsey and Berry Road is intended by both current land use and zoning to be the transition to a historic neighborhood, and is also considered by many to be the western gateway to the University of Oklahoma. The recent multi-million-dollar Lindsey Road project suggests this by making the transition from a 4-lane road to a 2-lane street at this intersection to support the current land use plan and current zoning. So there's nothing in either the land use or zoning plan to support making the changes that the applicant is requesting. The land use plan is a long-range plan for the future development of the city. It's a vision for the future and a foundation for managing the city's growth. Commercial development of the Lindsey corridor was envisioned in the 2025 land use plan with the exception of this corner at Berry and Lindsey that makes the transition to an R1 neighborhood. I was also curious to take a look at the final draft of the 2040 land use plan to take another look into the future. In January 2018, after 2 years of work by a diverse steering committee and community dialogue, this corner is envisioned and defined as a compact neighborhood type. This was 3 years after the first application was made to the City Council for a retail strip center. The compact neighborhood type is described as having a high proportion of single-family home options on small lots and a predominance of residential living. The compact design of this type makes these areas highly walkable with access to a variety of amenities and active recreation spaces. This model encourages mixed-use residential development along corridors in limited locations. While this remains in draft form and has not been implemented, it does give us a glimpse to what the thinking was in 2018. So this is a vision for the future of Norman. So the requested amendment for land use is not supported by the current or future land use goals. Agenda item number 16 addresses zoning changes. According to the city staff report, the definition of a simple planned use development, also known as a SPUD, is a special zoning district that provides an alternative approach to conventional land use controls and to maximize the unique physical features of a particular site and produce unique, creative, progressive, or quality land developments. Its purpose is to encourage developments with a superior built environment through unified development and to provide the application of design ingenuity in such developments while protecting existing and future surrounding areas and achieving the goals, as well as promote infill development that is compatible and harmonious with adjacent uses. A commercial strip center is not a unique, creative, or progressive land development. What we should be considering is a unique, creative option for the future and not what has been built in the past. There's also a concept of a neighborhood commercial node that can be found within the compact neighborhood type. It's defined as small scale, mixed use, commercial activity on the ground floor with residential uses on upper stories that serves the local residents. The node should be sympathetic to and integrated into the existing community and the existing neighborhood fabric, and provide a walkable destination for families and residents to gather and to live. This commercial node envisions a walkable destination with 5 parking spaces, not 55. A project that could provide residential housing types not currently available and result in a unique, creative, and progressive project. So the requested amendment to rezone using a SPUD does not meet the definition or the purpose of a SPUD. Our highest obligation and responsibility, as I've said over and over, is to consider the public health, safety, and welfare of our community. In core Norman, the impact of any project that affects our watershed and stormwater has to be reviewed carefully. Because we have yet to adequately address the need for a stormwater utility and millions of dollars in stormwater capital projects, it becomes even more important to focus on this parcel by parcel. The proposed project will likely generate large volumes of additional stormwater in Imhoff Creek. Imhoff Creek is an integral part of our watershed and is under great stress already. The failure of the bridge on Imhoff and the millions of dollars of unfunded stormwater capital projects to mitigate and address the erosion and bank instability along Imhoff Creek cannot be ignored. So this parcel with the added impervious surface has to meet the best practices for stormwater management. And finally, this is something that we've talked about before. There is a concept to consider called highest and best use. In my mind, this project does not meet the spirit of highest and best use. Quoting from those that are more qualified than I am to address this topic from an article entitled, "What do planners mean when they refer to highest and best use?" Structuring cities based on the principle that each individual parcel should be put to its highest and best use is an idea that has come into prominence over the last century. Intensity, as opposed to density, measures the degree to which mixed uses are found at any one location or with any individual project. For example, a mixed-use project that combines office, retail, entertainment, and housing has a higher level of intensity that is solely residential or office-based. People may fear that urban growth, development, and changes increases congestion and lowers property values. However, allowing the highest and best use to work in an environment where, as Mr. Farrell pointed out, where a community consensus has been reached as to what constitutes sound, sustainable development will often produce more variegated, interesting, efficient, and sustainable communities. This leads to a better understanding of what constitutes excellence in urban design. For all of the above reasons, I will be voting no on these companion agenda items tonight.
Thank you.